Ben.
I'm sorry, repeat your intro. I had your mic muted.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Okay, when should I do that?
just do it right now. We're live. Just
Oh.
blame it on me.
Oh, you're all good. Welcome to the breakdown with your not so humble talking hairdo, Ben. And I am coming to you live today from the Neon Parrot live studios at the Majestic Coffee Shop here in downtown Lean Town, Abilene, Texas, folks. And I am by myself today. I had a scheduled guest, which some work things came up, which is okay. And that means that my usual resident Viking Aggie Blake is not with me as well. And it has been some time since I've done a show by myself, which I'm excited to do today. I do love having my co-hosts, my guests, but every once in a while, this isn't a bad deal. We've got all kinds of topics today. I hope everybody had a happy Easter last weekend. One thing that is interesting is NASCAR does not race on Easter Sunday. It's pretty smart. A lot of other sporting events do take place on Easter Sunday. I just think that it is kind of a Southern thing, I guess you might say, a respectful thing for them to do. Anyways, so that's something I noticed about NASCAR, one of my new favorite sports. Today is the day, folks. Today is draft day, 2025, April 24th. Live from Green Bay, Wisconsin, we will hear who goes where this evening. And there's only about 16 gentlemen that are slated to be live at the broadcast. And some years they have more, some years they have less. But that is always entertaining. The draft, you never know what's going to happen, right? The hours and even sometimes minutes leading up to the draft. Funny story about that. It's been a handful of years ago, but this one guy, his name was Laramie Tunsil. He was slated to go maybe number 1, maybe number 3. Well, this video came out of him with a gas mask on, and it was a weed gas mask, it turns out. And anyway, so this video comes out, goes viral, and he falls way down on the draft board. Well, I believe he ended up having a good career. He's actually still in the NFL, but that was kind of a wilder thing that happened like right before the draft. Even it was during the draft that this video surfaced of him cheeching on some bud and a gas mask. So you never know what could happen on draft night, right? Aaron Rodgers sat and then finally was chosen, and then we all know he had a Hall of Fame career, kind of a deadbeat now, but not even the Jets want him. But we'll see what happens. He's holding out for the Steelers, I think. But today is a big sports-heavy show, and I'm your guy for that, right? Breakdown. That's what I'm here for. We're gonna talk wagers placed. We're gonna talk hockey, WrestleMania, which me and my son watched. Well, he had buddies over for the first night of WrestleMania, which was Saturday, but altogether it was like 7+ hours of WrestleMania over Saturday and Sunday. So it's been a long time. I've been just getting into wrestling, but I'm a kid of the 90s. I remember Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, and that's my producer extraordinaire, Sammy, which I forgot to thank whenever I started my show. He's doing a little Hulk move here. But But anyways, Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant was a little before my time, but we had the Ultimate Warrior, we had Sting, and then on the WWF side, the Undertaker, Kane, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was just so much fun. I am gonna tell you what, I watched all 7 hours of WrestleMania, and I am all the way in to wrestling now. I am back. I'm a fan. I have ordered gear. I was actually almost going to wear my NWO Wolfpack shirt today, but it's draft day, so I wore my Raiders shirt. This is and I busted out the white Raiders shirt. This is brand new. This is because we need all the help we can get. I'm trusting in Tom Brady and Pete Carroll to make the right decisions tonight when it comes to draft night. But WrestleMania was so fun. I'm going to talk about it for just a few minutes and then I'm going to get Big Frank on the line to talk a little draft, maybe a little hockey. But, the people that don't understand wrestling probably never got into it as a kid, because in the 90s it was huge. The 80s was it was captivating a lot of people, but the 90s it really just blew up. And with the help of Eric Bischoff from the WCW, and of course Vince McMahon of the WWF. And Blake and I kind of talked a little bit about the differences between those two companies in the 90s and how they ended up merging. And I was a big WCW kid, kind of for the most part. And but anyways, if you don't get wrestling, everybody knows that it's scripted. Everybody knows it's entertainment. It's theater, as my friend Travis from the Travie Wavy would say, as wrestling is theater. And it is fun, and it is very dangerous what these guys are doing and ladies are doing, and people, break their necks and their backs all the time in the name of entertainment, and these guys are doing what they love. So I just had the best time watching WrestleMania, and I'm all the way in, and I'm learning all the new faces to me. And then some of these guys like Randy Orton and CM Punk, they've been around since before I was in high school. I used to watch some of those guys, and those guys are pushing 50, doing backflips, lifting up dudes that are 300 pounds and slamming them on the ground, from slamming them onto folding tables and stuff. So I'm in 100% to WWE wrestling entertainment, and I love it, and I can't wait for SmackDown on Friday night, which I'm going to be watching. And my last take on WrestleMania was, I'm a big numbers guy when it comes to ratings in sports and these kind of things. Sorry, I'm making one text breakdown. So, looking at the ratings for WrestleMania, those were the biggest ratings that they've ever had. So they're doing something right. They're getting people like me that haven't been interested in 20 years plus, that, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm not as young as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was, folks. Believe that. Don't at me. Don't come for me. But anyways, I will say that I love it, and I'm in, and I'm excited, and I'm buying merch, and I get why that did huge numbers. And Netflix is having a little bit of an issue with it. It's streaming globally with WWE right now and some of their numbers, but as far as America goes, it's freaking huge. And quite frankly, that's all that matters, in my opinion, because we are the king for now, until we are dethroned. Okay, WrestleMania, yes. Oh, last thing on WrestleMania, folks. Stone Cold Steve Austin makes an appearance Sunday evening, day 2, the final night. And he was just kind of going to do a Stone Cold thing. This guy is mid-50s, almost 60. He's retired. He shows up on a four-wheeler ATV, runs this thing down the ring, and he's doing circles around the ring in this ATV. Well, he accidentally runs into the barrier, knocks this woman down, like on her ass. And this is not scripted, okay? And you can tell that she's shooken, or she shook, and then everybody's making sure she's okay, and his music's going crazy, and he goes to her and he's like, "Are you good? Are you good?" And then, he's already like, "Oh, here comes the lawsuit," But anyways, he proceeds to get onto the ring, starts just slamming beers like Stone Cold does, and then drives on out of there. But that was some of the unscripted things that happen during these broadcasts are pretty amazing. And Pat McAfee, he's a guy that I love. I love his show on the Mothership on ESPN. But anyways, he got choked out on Monday Night Raw by Gunther, this Austrian freaking giant wrestler dude. But anyways, it's so much fun. Give WWE a try. Have an imagination. Be a kid again. Give it a shot. Okay, we need to get into the draft. I'm calling Big Frank right now, and we're going to see what he's got to say about the draft. And I am curious, because he is up there in the Midwest, if he has any hockey takes, because I am going to get into that shortly as well. All right, here we go. Oh, we got some golf topics. We got all kinds of good stuff, folks. Oh, and I got a new book to talk about today as well. Hey, Big Frank, how the heck are you?
What's Ben? How are you guys?
Oh, man, we're good today. It's just me behind the podium today. I'm all by myself.
You're doing a solo act today, huh?
Yep, solo mission today.
There you go. There you go.
Man, so the day is here. Draft day is here.
Oh, man. Yes, it is.
I'm nervous.
I don't know about you, but down in Chicago here, I was just texting with my son, talking to him. I'm going to be heading over there later on to go watch the draft and everything. There's so many rumors and scenarios flying around this year about what's going to go on and what's happening. There's talk of us just sitting pat depending upon how it plays out. But now there were some reports that they're trying to work a trade out to move up to number 3 to take Carter from Penn State. If all the tackles or move up to try to get Gentry is another one that they're talking about. Or if they can't get nothing like that, trading down now for someone that wants to jump up to number 10 to possibly get, a quarterback if it doesn't go. There's so many different rumors that you're hearing out here. It's kind of crazy today. So
Absolutely. The first night is always like this year. I think it's going to be a little more interesting in years past, because there's not just these for sure guys that everybody's, we know kind of who the heavy hitters are here, but I think we're going to see some surprises. What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. And it all depends on how you have these guys rated and who wants to move up because they're afraid they won't fall to him or whatever, and who's willing, to make the trade and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be kind of wild, other than the fact that I think, the consensus is that Ward's going to go number 1. But after that, it's like anything can happen, There's talk of that, the Deion Sanders kid dropping all the way down to Pittsburgh, possibly, for the quarterback, because he's turned off a lot of people, and they're not really sold on his talent right away. Maybe a developmental one. So it depends on if somebody has him going pretty high, they might want to move up to get him, since there's not a lot of quarterbacks, because there's so many teams that need quarterbacks. How willing are they to stretch to try to jump up and get somebody? So I think it's going to be pretty entertaining and wild. First, I'd say 12 to 13 picks, after that, because then after that, you just kind of like fall in, because it's supposed to be a heavy draft for running backs and tight ends in later rounds. If you don't want to, pay the high price to either move up or trade, something like that. So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So,
Yeah, you know who I've been kind of. You remember in the college football playoff, the Arizona State versus Texas game?
okay.
So his name's Scattaboo, the Arizona State running back.
Correct.
Well, that kid, I think that whoever gets him, I just got a feeling about that guy. He's not huge, but he just seems like one of those guys that's just a machine.
He's an all-around guy. He does everything. He can run, he can block, he can pass catch. They've got him is like a low second to a third round pick because you don't want to waste. Again, until they're saying until Saquon Barkley's season last year, it would be unthinkable to draft a running back higher than the second and third round now. But with all of that coming out with this Gentry and him. And then there's a couple other guys. There's a kid from Iowa that they have going pretty high. These names escape me all. I can't keep track of them all.
Sure.
And then the Ohio State kid is a good one, but you could get value for holding on and waiting instead of going up, and getting them high. Gentry is another case. I mean, he was almost a Sherlock to go to your Raiders a couple weeks ago, but now everybody's talking about Jacksonville is going to with the pick before you. So is the Raiders going to move up, or is somebody else going to move up? You know what I mean? They're so high on this kid.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. And, I know we've kind of, the entire sports world has been talking about Sanders all the time, but I heard just early this morning on the Dan Patrick show, one of the scouts that had the conversation that just said that Sanders had a terrible interview. Kind
of the same kind of article. They said he was stuck up, didn't know much, wasn't a very good, interviewer. And again, you don't know if there's a lot of teams that are putting that out there, hoping. There's so many rumors and bad stuff that gets put out there because you're hoping the guy drops to you, to take him and stuff like that. You never know what's going on. There's so many, dishonest comments and things going on in the draft right now. So it's like, you never know what to expect and who's going to fall to you. So,
yeah. And one of the things that I've been kind of paying attention to is like what translates from college to the NFL, and sacks and fumbles tend to translate from the college level to the NFL level. And the Sanders guy, he's got a lot of sacks and a lot of fumbles,
Yeah. He's got, happy feet and doesn't process the field right. And he's an athlete and, he makes plays with his feet, and he does have that good arm strength if a guy's like wide open, but can he throw a guy open? And, is he just a runner, playing a quarterback? And, does he move positions later on? There's a lot of ifs on him. And I think you have to really be sold on your team being able to develop that kid, where if you're going to, go in the first round and take somebody like that. But the league is so quarterback crazy, and there's so many teams that need a quarterback that, it's just not him. You hear a lot about this Jason Dart, and then the kid from Ohio State who had a good end of the year but had a horrible combine.
Yeah.
And like pro days, I forget, I think his name is Howard, Will Howard or something. And then, the Jackson Dart, I think he was a Mississippi State guy. And
yep.
It's like, people might even move up in the first round to try to get him because everybody needs a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Other than the exception of the few teams that I think that they're pretty set on him. But there's so many out there, and it's like, who's going to reach for one,
Absolutely. Man, that's I can't wait for tonight. I got another do you keep up with any hockey right now since the playoffs just started?
I do, unfortunately, since the Hawks aren't in it, but I'll watch a little bit of it in between the basketball playoffs. But yeah, I do. I do watch a little bit of it, because ESPN has all the games on.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Our Dallas Stars are actually, they're up on the Colorado Avalanche 2-1 in the series right now.
yeah, which is kind of a surprise. I
Absolutely,
think.
absolutely. For us,
Yeah.
it really is, and it was an overtime win last night. It was almost 11:30 our time before that game was over.
Yeah, those are kind of late ones, So, yeah, I watched a little bit of that one, and then I think the one on before it, I watched a little bit of that one, and it escapes me which one was first because I was flipping back and forth between the basketball ones. The Golden State game was on with Houston, and that kind of got me interested a little bit, especially after, I don't know if you were watching that game, but Butler took a hard fall, man.
Oh yeah, he's getting an MRI from what I hear.
Yeah, so it was going to. I thought I could have gotten a little bit more chippier than it was, but Golden State wound up losing. So this is the time of year where I really like to watch the basketball playoffs because during the year I don't get much into it because they play so many games and they're just seeding. But now it's like you're in it, and if you don't win the series, you're out and stuff like that. So
who do you like? Who do you like right now in the NBA playoffs? Like who are you kind of rooting for?
Well, I'll tell you, who really looks unbeatable, but it's just that they're so young, is that Oklahoma City team.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, those guys just roll. And I don't think anybody, between Denver and then, Houston come out of nowhere. The Lakers with Luka, that's a fascinating, kind of matchup now with you got Luka and LeBron there. But, man, I see Oklahoma City coming out and, Boston this time of year is really tough. And it's just, they're so good, but it's just, you wonder if their youth is going to catch up with them. But man, that team, they really play good, man.
Yeah, I'm pulling for them too. I think that would be so cool to see them go far.
Yeah, new people, somebody then other than the old, you always get the Lakers in there.
Yeah.
And, out east, it's always Boston or somebody like that. I kind of like Denver. With their group too, you gotta like Joker.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't look like an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a big guy but he's got so much skill to him. But it's kind of fun to watch him because he's not your typical. These guys are built like they're like chiseled. They stay in the weight room all day, and there you got him.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Luka. They don't really look that muscular, but boy, can they play basketball.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, really.
Yeah. So.
Man, that's awesome. Well, did you watch any WrestleMania over the weekend? Because I was talking a little bit beforehand, and because my son's really into it, and I am all the way into wrestling again. I loved it.
Yeah, I've been a big wrestling fan for years, and I got my kids were into it. And then you get in a stage like when your kids are are older. My son still stayed in it. He went to the WrestleMania a few years back. He was like right after he just got married. Him and his college buddies got into it, and they went to Atlanta.
Oh wow!
When it was there for the WrestleMania, and they used to have WrestleMania parties because that's what we used to do with my buddies when we were younger and our kids were growing up. We would have WrestleMania parties because back then it was all, if you didn't go there, you couldn't watch it on television. It was closed circuit television. So you would go to like the United Centers or wherever they have the basketball and hockey, they have the big screen there, and that's how you'd seen it, and grew up with that. And now my sons two are getting into it, and he actually was down in Florida for a mini vacation, but I watched both nights of it, both Saturday and Sunday, because it's on
it's on Peacock. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I watched all of it. Did you see Stone Cold run his ATV and accidentally crash it?
Yes, I watched it all. Like I watched both nights of it, and it was it's classic. WWE. They know how to put it on and everything like that. So it was wild. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan for many years. you know, the Hulk Hogan days, Andre the Giant,
Oh
all
yeah.
the, you know, I don't know if you watched it for a while, but it might be before your time. But George the Animal Steel, the guy that couldn't talk and he used to bite the turnbuckles.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
I've seen some documentaries of that day. That was a little before my time, of course, but
yeah.
man,
Look him.
that's when it got really good. Yeah.
He couldn't talk. He wouldn't talk, and he would just grunt. And he was big, you know, kind of like a fat guy, not a muscular guy, but he used to chew into the turnbuckles and do all that stuff. And it was just, you know, and then Hogan when he turned bad, and then when Dennis Rodman used to play for the Bulls, he got in with that NWO.
Oh yeah.
Group. It just was. It's just been phenomenal. Nobody puts on a show like wrestling.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. In the 90s is whenever I was a kid in the 90s, and that's when I really got into wrestling. And that was it was on the cusp of Macho Man and all that. And then it went, I was a big WCW guy versus WWF. And then when they merged, it was actually really cool. But I've been kind of out of it for a little while. And I just ordered an NWO Wolfpack shirt. And I was gonna rock it today, but I had to wear my Raiders shirt because it's draft day. But next week, NWO Wolfpack shirt is what I'm wearing.
Yeah, you go through that stages with wrestling, depending upon, like you say, if you have your kids are not into it, and then if you're in the college days or something, and then you kind of always go back to it.
Yeah.
It's like I hadn't watched much of it. I wasn't the Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, and those guys were coming through a time where, I was watching it, but I wasn't really into it. The old Ric Flair there was nobody like a showman like Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah.
And guys, so, yeah. And now you got the new stars coming up. John Cena is a bad guy now, like they always do that. So you just keep it going. But yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan. Always love to watch it. So,
well, that's great. So I'm guessing, did you see Pat McAfee get choked out by Gunther on Monday Night Raw?
I was watching Monday Night Raw and I gave up on it. I was watching it, and then I watched it till about 9:00, and then because Paul Heyman was supposed to come out, but then Cena was the first guy out, and then after that it didn't, and then I got off of it, and then my son was telling me about it the next day that he came out. Somebody come out from under the ring too.
Yeah.
Or something like.
Yeah, and all McAfee's guys that are on his show, they jumped over the barrier and started fighting with him, and then the security stopped them. It was so cool. It was great.
I got to go back and watch that.
Oh yeah, just give it a YouTube. You'll find it quick.
I mean, I stayed up until about 9:30, and I was a little bit tired. And I said, you know what? After WrestleMania and all this, I mean, I'm sure they can't have many more storylines. And I was always wondering when McAfee was going to start getting back into it.
Yeah.
And now I heard that, so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, man, I'm excited to hear you're a wrestling fan, because that's another thing that we can talk about as we do the breakdown together.
Yeah. Love wrestling. I know it's all choreographed and everything, but you got to be an athlete for those guys to be able to do what they do and not really hurt themselves.
Oh yeah.
It's just amazing to me. And I know it's all choreographed and everything, and things like that. And they're talking about Netflix is going to be doing kind of like they always do behind the scenes, like they did with Golf Full Swing.
Yeah.
They're going to do a wrestling thing.
Oh, that would be great.
You go into the production meetings and they talk about the scenarios that they want to develop and how the characters are going to come along and what they want to do, for this and that, kind of like a behind the scenes look of how they get the wrestling together, which would be pretty good. It's coming out this summer on Netflix.
Oh, I can't wait for that. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And that's, I was talking a little bit before you came on the show today, is for people that don't understand wrestling, then they probably just never got into it as a kid, but it's essentially, it's theater. It's theater, but these guys are actually incredible athletes. They do get injured badly occasionally, and they're putting their bodies on the line for entertainment. And I just think it's the best.
And people don't realize now. I'll be 67 this year. Okay. And I remember when I was a kid, probably 10, 11 years old, my dad was into wrestling and the local ones. And I wish I remember it was in Chicago, but my two biggest fans in wrestling in the beginning, and again, you could probably go back on YouTube and check it, is the Bruiser and the Crusher were big Chicago amphitheater, and they used to come out carrying kegs of beer on their shoulders. That was their entrance. And they would throw the kegs down and they would take drinks out of it. And these guys, I think they were cousins or something. If it was Dick the Bruiser, and I forget what Crusher's first name was. But that got me into wrestling when my dad used to make us watch it on the local channel out here, 26. It was on like Friday or Saturday nights. And Pepper Gomez, they drove a Volkswagen over his stomach. But it was the two first wrestlers I always remember were the Bruiser and the Crusher. That's how long wrestling has been going on, and then it caught on like in the 70s and the 80s, and that's when the WWE and Vince McMahon took it over and made it to what it is today. So
man, that's amazing. Well,
yeah,
that's great. Now that I know that, we've got a lot more topics to cover in the coming shows for sure.
You got it.
Well, all right. Well, I guess I'll talk to you next week, and I know we're gonna have a lot to talk about this draft. We're gonna have some surprises for sure.
Who are you thinking, before we go, who are you thinking the Raiders are going to take today?
You know, I feel like they're going to try and get a running back or somebody for Geno Smith to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm really concerned about that. I'm in that camp of like, even if we get a quarterback that's going to sit behind Geno for a year, I would like that. I just think, because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance anymore. And that's why you guys are sitting great at the number 9 pick, because there's rumor that the Bears are going to try to trade up a little bit and get that one of those defensive line guys. Or
yeah, it all depends on how it falls and what they want for it, you know.
Yeah, because just imagine you get some more the Chicago Bears style defense. You go get a badass on defense. You got Caleb Williams, doing. I mean, that's what I kind of want to see a little bit more on our stuff.
That's what I said to start off. There's big, and you see it all the time. There, my son's sending me these tweets. I'm not on Twitter or any of that stuff, but he gets all that stuff. And there's a real big rumor around here going around that we are going to trade up to number 3, because if Tennessee takes Ward and whoever, if they think it's Cleveland, is going to do the Travis Hunter guy who's a stud. That leaves drop down to number 3 to take, the Penn State guy. There's talk that we're going to move up to grab him at defensive. So, I mean, it'll be funny to see how it plays out. That's one of the scenarios that's really talked about today.
Absolutely.
So
I just want a quarterback. I want a quarterback. I don't, I'm just desperate right now because Geno Smith ain't going to cut it for us for very long, but.
No, but I think he brought that in because this year's quarterback group is not the greatest.
Right.
Okay. And I think what they're projecting is that 2 to 3 years down the road that these guys coming out that they could possibly get. So that's where they're going, I think, with that. So we'll see how that plays out.
Heck yeah. Well, you have a great day, and I'll be excited to talk to you next week, Big Frank.
Sounds good. We'll talk next week, Ben.
All right. Have a great day. Bye. Oh, man. How cool is that? Big Frank is a serious wrestling fan, folks, which is so awesome. We're going all the way back to the 70s. Oh, man, the guys with the beer kegs going in for their entrance. Oh, man, if you're just joining the show, you should back it up a little bit and listen to Big Frank and I's conversation. We covered the draft. We covered wrestling. We covered a little hockey and some basketball. But, I'm cautiously optimistic about the draft for my Raiders this evening, but I am nervous. Let's see here. We went to I'm just going to kind of slow it or get ready to wrap it up here in the next 10 plus minutes. Our Dallas Stars overtime win. Trav from the Travie Wabby show called it last night. He goes, the Stars are going to win 2-1. And they won 2-1 in overtime. And he thinks the Stars are going to win the whole damn thing, which I'm pretty sure he'll be wrong about that, but that's okay. He got one right last night. Talladega is here. The Jack Links 500 weekend of NASCAR. Maybe Ricky Bobby will show up. Dude, Talladega is always a great NASCAR race. This being my kind of first year to get into NASCAR, I can't wait for that race on Sunday. And I've been getting into the like Friday night have the truck races. Saturday night is the kind of the up and comers that race, and I'm really excited about that. Hockey playoffs are just in full force right now. Round 1, crazy stuff happening. We've got, oh man, there's so many mock drafts out there right now. Anyways, let's look at tonight for hockey. Tonight, we have 5:30 p.m. the Panthers at the Lightning, 6 the Maple Leafs at the Senators. Today at 8 o'clock, the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild, which I'm going for the Golden Knights because I'm a Vegas sports fan. We got the Jets and the Blues tonight, and that's all for tonight with hockey. Now, we always get into all kinds of different things on this show. We'll see. We talked enough about the draft, I think, already. A little golf news, folks. Justin Thomas, if you keep up with golf, he won the golf tournament last weekend, and that cat has not won a tournament in 3 years. First time in 3 years. So that's a pretty big deal for him. It was a good day. I did bring, I brought a book. We plugged our friend D. Grant's book last week, or 2 weeks ago. This is a book called The Will of the Many. I'm not sure which camera I'm on, but I just started it, and I got it at the bookstore downtown Abilene, Texas. It's called 7 and 1 Books, and it is fantastic. The Will of the Many by James Islington, and it's a fantasy kind of action fantasy series novel that is fantastic. I've just kind of got into it, but it is already impressing me. And let's see here. We've got a show this weekend at the Cotton Warehouse. Or no, not this weekend, excuse me, May 9th at the Cotton Warehouse. And we've got quite the lineup. I am currently the booking manager for the Cotton Warehouse talent. And we have got a jazz trio band for you this weekend. We've got Damasio Perez, who is a hip-hop artist. And he is very talented. I've heard him before at another one of our shows that we had last summer, and he's pretty incredible. A lot of talent there. So you should come out. We've also got Cash and the Change, which is kind of sort of the house band for the Cotton Warehouse so far. They've been doing a lot of shows lately, a lot of gigging. That is May 9th at the Cotton Warehouse. And we're going to continue those as the year progresses into the summer. Okay, now we talked about our book. We've gone all over. Basically, Big Frank was kind of my co-host today. We kind of really covered everything, the WrestleMania stuff and the draft, NBA playoffs, hockey playoffs. I'm pumped about Talladega this weekend. I'm pumped about SmackDown on Friday night, which I will be watching. And, we always have a human element, and it's not always to do with sports, but this Wall Street Journal Weekend Edition has an interesting story. The review is always an interesting one. It's pretty interesting, though, because it has to do with all of us. And the headline, the name title of this story is called Questioning Biden's Capacities Was Taboo a Year Ago, but Now It's Everywhere. Isn't that odd? So here's the that paper headline. You know, something that we all kind of knew towards most of the 4 years that led up to 2024, that there was something not quite right with the president, you know? And a lot of us thought there was something way not quite right. But anyways, there's several new books coming out that reveal how long Democrat insiders knew about and covered up the president's age-related problems. And that is interesting, isn't it? Let's look into this on this other page. See, during Biden's debate prep, his former chief of staff, Ron Klain, was struck by how out of touch the 81-year-old president was. And there's another article called How Biden's Team Covered Up His Decline. And this is kind of everywhere now. And they wouldn't let him do interviews. They wouldn't let him speak to really hardly anyone. And it's just, this is quite the article. And it's funny how now this story is coming out whenever, you know, the show's over, if you will. So I don't know in the history, at least in modern history, as long as we had TV and interviews and even radio, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, ever. You know? Say what you want about, you know, you name it. Bill Clinton, George Bush, Kennedy, Nixon, anyone. We've never had the leader of the free world literally hidden away from cameras, interviews, us, you know, just in order for that person and that party to remain in power. Like, that's frightening, folks. I know this is a sports show, but this is all coming out. And whoever doesn't want it to come out, I'm sorry, it is. And it's from people in his own team. So, you know, that just shows the length that a side is willing to go to remain in power. So, and what that is scary, you know? So, hopefully that won't happen again. And I don't care who it is, like Blake and I always say, I don't, you know, to make it clear, Breakdown, I have contempt for politicians as a general rule. And I side with whoever I think is the lesser of the two evils generally. And that is scary, whether that's a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, a pink rhinoceros, whatever the hell, you know, the truth that's coming out behind the cover-up and hiding of the decline of this man that, quite frankly, you know, was potentially making decisions that, you know, affected foreign policy and the economy and everything else is frightening. So maybe that won't happen again. And at least we still live in a free-ish society where we have freedom of speech and the freedom of the press for the most part. And they're actually, you know, allowed to write these articles at the Wall Street Journals and some of the other newspapers. This story is about Home Depot has a $20 billion secret garden. That's interesting. I haven't gotten to that yet. Let me just, as we close out here. To keep shoppers coming back, the retailer needs them to be successful planting its breeding. Okay. To keep shoppers coming back, the retailer needs them to be successful planting. It is breeding plants to help, and it's time to see if the strategy works. Wow. Home Depot runs 25 trial gardens across the United States. It unveils plants at an internal expo for suppliers. That's wild. $20 billion. And these are all just flowers for looking pretty. This isn't food, you know? So that's pretty incredible. Amazon is better prepared for the trade war than it seems. Hell yeah, they are. Bezos, he's not worried about a damn thing, ever. That guy runs the whole world. He makes Zuckerberg look like, you know, the kid down the block with the bike that is broke as hell, you know? But, okay. Man, the weekend edition of the Journal is fantastic. But let's see here. We're getting close to closing it out. There's not a major this weekend in golf because we just had the Masters, stuff like that. We talked about our Cotton Warehouse May 9th show. Oh, I like to talk a little TV and movies on this show, and I'm going to just hit what I'm on to right now that has got me completely enthralled. I think the show came out in 2017. It's now 2025. It is The Handmaid's Tale with Elizabeth Moss on Hulu. Everybody watch it. Now, granted, if you've got, you know, issues with violence and different things, it's a really gut-wrenching show, but it is worth a watch if you're okay with seeing some pretty messed up things, because in the good way, it's like this is the kind of things that we don't want to happen, that nobody ever wants to see their country go that direction. But The Handmaid's Tale is beyond incredible, in my humble opinion, my not so humble opinion, folks. Okay, and I'm gonna place a few wagers this weekend, but not a whole lot, because these early round of the playoffs, it's just going to be one team beats the other and then vice versa, and it's kind of hard to pick those guys. So maybe a sneaky parlay, like a multiple team parlay or something like this. The Raiders, the Bears, the Steelers are probably going to do good in the draft tonight. Man, I'm excited. I can't wait for about 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 hours from now. I'm going to be with my popcorn in my chair, ready to cry, because the Raiders are going to shoot themselves in the foot again. Anyways, okay. Thank you, Producer Sam, for hooking me up on this solo mission of the breakdown with Ben. And we will maybe get Alex in next week, or possibly Blake, or maybe I'll do this damn thing on my own again. It was fun. It was great to have Big Frank as kind of my co-host on the other line. But anyways, you guys enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there. Enjoy the draft. Watch some NASCAR. Watch WWE SmackDown tomorrow night. It is fun. Have some fun with your life, okay? Good luck to the Dallas Stars tomorrow night. Most of all, good luck to my Raiders tonight. Don't mess it up, Tom. Okay, Tom Terrific. Just do it. Do a good job. Watch The Handmaid's Tale. May 9th, Cotton Warehouse. Shedeur Sanders, will he fall to the second round? Or is all this a charade because somebody really wants him? We're going to find out tonight. We will see you guys next week. Right here at the Neon Parrot Live Studios at the Majestic Coffee Shop in downtown Abilene, Texas, Lean Town. Thank you, Jan, for my hair and makeup job today. It was great. Love it when you show up on time. Thank you to our in-house audience. There's about at least 15, 20 today. We always appreciate you coming by, getting a nice pastry, maybe a turnover, maybe some sparkling water, coffee, Onyx coffee, the best coffee in the land. We've got tea. We've got CBD infused drinks that make you arm not hurt if it hurts and things. We've got everything here. There's art on the walls. There's clean bathrooms. There's offices upstairs. There's everything right here in this historic building right here in Leantown. Well, folks, thanks for joining me today on The Breakdown. Thank you, Big Frank, for filling in as my remote co-host. Let's go Raiders. Good luck, Steelers. And good luck, Bears. Not that you need it, because you guys are set. Sammy, you can take me out whenever you're ready. Oh, yeah.